On 9/11, I was actually on patrol. I was working for Pleasant Grove Police Department, and I pulled into a gas station to get a drink, fill my car up with fuel, and I remember walking into the gas station, and there was a little, you know, this was a while ago, so it was one of those little crappy square TVs, you know, about this big, and people were starting to huddle around it, and, you know, I walked up, hey, what's going on? And there on the TV is the North Tower of the World Trade Center with smoke coming out of it. And you know, people saying, hey, a plane flew into this. I remember thinking, how could a plane fly into that? You know, and at that point we thought, was it an accident? Nobody knew. And I just remember standing there with these people, and then I think it was about 17 minutes later when the second flight hit that South Tower, and, you know, our worlds changed forever when there was no doubt that this was not an accident and that we had been attacked.
On 9/11 that morning, I was getting ready for work, and one of the kids told us, turn the TV on, watch the morning news. A plane just hit a tower in New York. It seemed unreal, almost like it was a movie. First thing I wanted to do was call our other kids, and make sure everybody was okay. Unbelief.
I was working at home. I was a web admin, and I was watching TV, and all of a sudden the news showed a plane crashing into one of the World Trade Center, and that I thought that was an accident. And then the second one hit, and I knew it was not a good thing. Then the Pentagon, and then Pennsylvania nosedived. That was a tough day. Watching those collapse. I'll always remember that day.
On 9/11, I had just woken up. My wife at the time came in and said, maybe you should see the news. She turned on the news, and I watched this all take place firsthand. My one-year-old son was laying next to me asleep, and I knew not only my life had changed, but his life would change, and it would impact him for the rest of his life. And I believe it has. And I really, really hope I never forget that feeling. And I work at every day to remember what that felt like, because that was a building block for me. Thank you.
On 9/11, I was home. I believe I just had a surgery, because I remember I was home in bed. But when I turned on the TV and could see what was happening, it was live at the time, just after the first plane had hit one of the towers. And glued to the TV, I couldn't believe my eyes. And then I watched as it came in. The second plane came in live on the news feed I was watching. Sick to my stomach, glued to the TV all day long. Couldn't believe what I was seeing.
So on 9/11, I was actually in the morning getting ready to go to UVU for school, and I was getting everything. I had a backpack on my shoulder, ready to go. And I get a call from my sister-in-law. She's like, are you watching the news? And I did the whole, what channel? It doesn't matter. And so I turned on the TV and sat there, and I stood there in front of the TV for about probably 5-7 minutes, and then decided, nope, the day's over. Put my backpack down on the couch and sat on the couch for about another 2 or 3 hours and watched everything unfold. I had a girlfriend that had family in New York at the time, and we were curious about them, but the phone lines weren't working. Nobody could get through, and it was definitely something that would always be remembered. I loved how all the flags came out afterwards, and we found out the family was safe, but it was the day ended at 9 o'clock in the morning.
On 9/11, I was headed to school, to college, to my class, and I had stopped at the gas station. They had the TVs on there, and so I asked the clerk what had happened. She said that a couple planes had flown into the Twin Towers. So I was like, oh, okay, didn't really know what to think about it. So we went to class, and they dismissed us from class all day. Went home and just sat and watched it all unfold.
So for 9/11, I was on vacation in Mexico in Puerto Vallarta. And so we were there at the hotel, and we were stuck, and it took us several days to try and figure out how we were going to get home, what we were going to do. Do we jump in a car? Do we wait for the planes? It was quite a mess. Definitely being in a location where trying to get phone calls to people was difficult, and not knowing how you're even going to get home.
On 9/11, I was driving home from a 12-hour shift working in dispatch. I was listening to the radio, and the emergency news came over that the first plane had flew into the tower, and that's how I found out. I stayed awake all day and I watched the news, and then I had a shift later that night and I was really tired, and that's how it impacted me.
On 9/11, I was a new police officer training with my FTO partner, and we heard on the radio what was going on. 2 airplanes hit the building. I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy, this can't be an accident. There's got to be something going on. And we found out that it was a terrorist attack, and it was a crazy day.
On 9/11, I was on my way to a health college class early in the morning and was shocked by the news that I had heard over the radio.
On 9/11, I was sleeping, just got done with a graveyard shift on patrol. My wife woke me up and said something bad was happening, and I got up and watched, and was angry, very angry. So, law enforcement, that's what you get, detective.
When 9/11 occurred, I was actually working for the Provo City Police Department. I was one of the team leaders on their Metro SWAT team, and we had just started a week-long training in preparation for the 2002 Olympics. And as we were sitting around in the classroom, we saw the news come out. We received some alerts. The instructor who was teaching the class was part of a Special Forces Army unit, and of course he had been alerted as well. And so as we kind of prepared for the training, we were all a little bit of shock at what was going on, and you know, trying to process that as we continued on with this training, again in preparation for the Olympics. And yeah, quite a traumatic incident.
On 9/11, I was on my way to a job interview down in Provo, and I actually thought that it was all a big hoax until I got to the interview there and walked in the general manager's office, and he had it playing on the television set. And I didn't have the interview that day. We just kind of all sat down and watched what was happening. It was crazy.
On 9/11, I was at home in Mapleton getting ready to go to work at the Forest Service for Pleasant Grove Ranger District. I turned on the TV and saw what had happened with the World Trade Centers getting hit, and my reaction was astonished. I couldn't believe that had happened, and I wanted to get there and help any way I could.